What is impartation? Impartation means easy access to manifestation. To be imparted is to be given an easy access for manifestation. To be given an easy access towards a particular thing that you need. Given an easy access to duplicate, or rather to operate in a particular gifting or office that you desire. That is impartation. Impartation is the transference of grace, the transference of the anointing, the transference of spiritual gifts, the transference of spiritual advantages. Impartation is the transference of grace, the transference of spiritual gifts, the transference of anointings, the transference of blessings, the transference of wisdom. That is what impartation is. So when we talk about impartation, we mean a grace being transferred from one person to another. That is what we call impartation. What is impartation? Impartation is spiritual replication and duplication. Spiritual replication and duplication. Impartation is a system by which we replicate ourselves and duplicate ourselves in other people. That is what impartation is. What is impartation? Impartation is the transmission of anointing from one vessel to another. The transmission of anointing from one vessel to another. That is what we call impartation. The transmission of anointing from one vessel to another. These are two vessels. This vessel has a certain anointing, then it transmits it into this vessel. That process is called impartation. What is impartation? Impartation is the release of spiritual possibilities. The release of spiritual possibilities, where there are some spiritual possibilities that are not availed to you, but then we make them available after praying for you or after showing you how. That is what we call impartation. To some people, it is not possible to prophesy. And if I'm going to call it in, no matter how they can pray, they will never prophesy. There are people like that. There are people that no matter what they do, and technically speaking, they have tried almost everything to do so that they can manifest and prophesy, they can't. So it's not possible for them to do certain things. But then when we make it possible for them, when we release possibilities in their lives, that is what is called impartation. To be imparted is to be given an advantage in the spirit. It is to be given a special advantage in the spirit. That is what it means to be imparted. When we say a person was imparted, it means they were given a special ability in the spirit. Impartation is spiritual diffusion. The same way it is in science, where we learn about diffusion and they tell us that diffusion is the movement of particles from a place with a higher concentration to a place with a lower concentration. That means impartation is the movement of grace, the movement of anointing, the movement of blessings, the movement of wisdom, from a place with the higher concentration of it to a place with a lower concentration. When we impart you, something is coming from a higher concentration to a lower concentration. That is what impartation is. What is impartation? Impartation is divine assimilation that comes by virtue of submission and association. That is what impartation is. Divine assimilation that comes by virtue of submission and association. Impartation is the system by which we transfer grace from one person to another. That is what impartation is.
More Than Conquerors family, demonstrating God's power and revealing Jesus.